A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
You know, Corn, this whole show runs on GPU compute, and we wouldn't be here without Modal.
Seriously. And that's what powers all our text-to-speech. Everything you're hearing right now.
They're an AI infrastructure platform. Developers use them to run GPU workloads in the cloud with zero infrastructure headaches.
If you're building anything with AI, check them out. Modal.com. You ever have that one idea? You know the one. You're in the shower, or maybe you're stuck in traffic, and suddenly, boom, the lightning bolt hits. You think, this is it. This is the billion-dollar unicorn. I'm going to quit my job, buy a turtleneck, and start practicing my stage walk for the keynote.
The classic founder's high. It is a dangerous drug, Corn. I have seen many a wise donkey fall victim to the allure of a disruptive SaaS platform that, upon closer inspection, is just a spreadsheet with an expensive logo. People get blinded by the what if and completely ignore the how on earth.
Well, today's prompt from Daniel is about exactly that, or rather, how to avoid that inevitable crash. He wants us to look at using AI for feasibility research, business plan analysis, and triaging our best ideas. Basically, can we use AI to find the blind spots in our genius plans before a venture capitalist laughs us out of the room? And by the way, for the nerds in the audience, today's episode is powered by Google Gemini 1.5 Flash.
Herman Poppleberry here, and I am genuinely vibrating with excitement for this one. This is the frontier. We are moving past AI as a writing assistant and into AI as a strategic adversary. That is the shift. It is not about, help me write a business plan. It is about, tell me why this business plan is a total disaster. Most founders surround themselves with yes-men, friends, family, or early employees who want to believe. AI doesn't want to believe. It just wants to calculate.
I love that. It's like hiring a private investigator to follow you around and tell you why you're wrong. Most people pay therapists to tell them they're right, but a real founder should pay an AI to tell them they're delusional. So, Herman, where do we start? If I've got this brilliant idea for, I don't know, an AI-powered toothbrush that analyzes your DNA while you scrub, how do I actually use 2026-era tech to see if I'm crazy?
The first thing you have to realize is that the manual phase of market research is dead. It is buried. If you are still spending 3 weeks Googling your competitors, you have already lost. In 2026, we have tools like IdeaProof and Big Ideas DB. These aren't just search engines. They are synthesis engines. You feed them your concept, and they analyze it against 50 or 60 authoritative data sources, patent filings, real-time competitor pivots, historical failure rates in that specific micro-niche, and they give you a go or no-go score in under 2 minutes.
2 minutes? It takes me longer than that to decide what I want for lunch, but a score is just a number, right? I mean, if the AI tells me my toothbrush idea is a 4 out of 10, does it tell me why? Or does it just judge me silently like you do when I suggest we invest in crypto?
I only judge when the math doesn't check out. But to your point, no, it is incredibly granular now. What's fascinating is the rise of vertical AI. General models are great, but if you're doing a health tech startup like your DNA toothbrush, you need a model trained on the physics of healthcare. We're talking HIPAA compliance, FDA approval cycles, insurance reimbursement pathways. A tool like IdeaProof will look at your idea and say, your margins are non-existent because the billing code for DNA sequencing doesn't apply to oral hygiene devices. That is a blind spot a human founder might not find until they've spent $2 million on a prototype.
That's the physics of the industry. I like that. It's the friction you don't feel until you start moving. It's like trying to build a perpetual motion machine. It looks great on paper until you remember gravity exists. But what about the people? You can have the best tech in the world, but if nobody wants to shove a lab-grade sequencer in their mouth at 6 in the morning, you're stuck. Don't we still need focus groups? Please tell me we don't need focus groups. I hate focus groups. They're just groups of people being paid in stale sandwiches to tell you what you want to hear.
You're in luck. Focus groups are increasingly being replaced by persona simulations or synthetic users. This is where it gets a little spooky but incredibly efficient. You can take a model and prime it with massive amounts of demographic and psychographic data. You tell the AI, you are a 34-year-old mother of two living in a suburban area, earning $80,000 a year, and you're obsessed with longevity and biohacking. Here is the pitch for the toothbrush. Do you buy it?
But wait, how real are these agents? If I'm pitching to a simulated soccer mom or a tech bro, is the AI just mimicking a stereotype, or is it actually drawing from real consumer behavior data?
It's the latter. These models are trained on billions of transaction records and social sentiment data. It's not just acting, it's a statistical representation of a cohort. And the AI doesn't just say yes to be nice.
So it won't just flatter me to keep the conversation going?
Not if it's prompted correctly for red teaming. You instruct the agents to be skeptical. You run 10,000 of these simulations across different personas. The AI identifies the friction points. It might say, 40% of users in this demographic find the idea of sharing DNA data with a toothbrush manufacturer to be a privacy nightmare. Or, the price point of $400 is a total non-starter for anyone with a mortgage. You get a heat map of resistance before you've even talked to a real human. Think about the Juicero disaster. If they had run that through a synthetic user simulation, the AI would have told them immediately, users will realize they can just squeeze the bag with their hands for $0.
It's like a digital dress rehearsal. But doesn't that risk creating an echo chamber? If I'm the one setting up the simulation, aren't I just going to subconsciously lead the AI to the answer I want? I'm very good at lying to myself, Herman. It's a gift. I can convince myself that a privacy nightmare is actually a data-driven wellness journey.
That is the biggest risk confirmation bias, which is why the triage framework is so important. You have to use AI as a red team. Instead of asking, is this a good idea? You ask, under what conditions does this business fail in the first 18 months? You force the AI to look for negative signals. There is a statistic from a 2026 Deloitte report that says misread market signals account for 42% of startup failures. AI is better at seeing those because it doesn't have an emotional stake in your genius toothbrush. It doesn't care about your feelings, it just sees that the market for high-end toothbrushes is already saturated and the growth rate is slowing.
Okay, so it's cold, it's calculating, and it's found all the reasons people will hate my product. Now, let's say I pivot. I listen to the AI, I fix the privacy issues, I lower the price, and I've got a solid plan. Now I need money. I need to talk to the VCs. Daniel's prompt mentions pre-VC due diligence. I always thought due diligence was something they did to you, like a medical exam you didn't ask for. Are you saying I could do it to myself first?
You absolutely must, because I promise you the VCs are already doing it to you. Firms are using platforms like V7 Go and Strat Engine AI to automate the boring stuff. They take your messy Excel models, your pitch deck, your LinkedIn profile, and they run a 15-point risk evaluation. If you haven't run that same audit on yourself, you are walking into an ambush. It's like going to a court case without reading the evidence the prosecution has against you.
An ambush with sparkling water and Patagonia vests. Tell me about this self-audit. What is the AI looking for that I might have missed in my own books? I'm pretty organized. I have folders for my folders.
It is not just about organization, it is about defensibility. AI can ingest your entire data room, every contract, every cap table entry, every expense report, and look for red flags. Legal vulnerabilities, for instance. It might find a clause in an early contractor agreement that accidentally gives away intellectual property rights. We saw a case recently where an AI auditor found that a founder had accidentally promised 15% of the company to a college roommate in a joke email from 7 years ago that was legally binding.
Ouch. That's a stop the meeting kind of discovery. That's the stuff that keeps people up at night.
Precisely, and it goes deeper than just the numbers. There is this concept of founder market fit. Some of these AI tools now analyze a founder's digital footprint, your past projects, your technical contributions on GitHub, your public statements to predict if you are actually the right person to build this specific company. If you're a marketing guy trying to build a deep tech hardware startup, the AI is going to flag that as a high execution risk. It looks at your velocity, how fast you actually ship things versus how much you talk about them.
That feels a little invasive, Herman. Sorry, Corn. The AI says you're too lazy to be a CEO because you haven't updated your open source repo in 3 months. I was on vacation. Sloths need downtime.
It's not about being lazy, it's about alignment. And look, you can use this to your advantage. If the AI flags a weakness in your team, you don't give up. You use that insight to hire the person who fills that gap before you meet the investors. You can say, we identified a technical execution risk in our initial audit, so we brought on a CTO with 10 years of experience in silicon photonics. That shows a level of maturity that blows VCs away. It shows you aren't just a dreamer, you're a professional who understands his own limitations.
It's about taking the weirdness out of the prompt and turning it into a strategy. I actually saw something about tools like Genova or 50-minute plan AI. These things are generating financial models that look like they came out of Goldman Sachs. Is there a danger that everyone's business plan starts looking exactly the same? If we're all using the same red team AI, do we all end up with the same safe ideas? Does the AI just steer us all toward the middle of the road?
That is a brilliant point, Corn. There is a real risk of algorithmic beige. If everyone optimizes for the same AI-defined success metrics, we might lose the weird outlier ideas that actually change the world. Remember, AI is trained on historical data. It knows what worked in the past. It might have told the Airbnb guys that nobody wants to sleep on a stranger's air mattress. It might have told Elon that rocket companies are a great way to turn a large fortune into a small one. It can't predict the black swan events that disrupt everything.
Right. AI is a rearview mirror. It's perfect for spotting the ditch you're about to drive into, but it might not be great at telling you how to fly. So, how do we balance this? How do we use the AI for the triaging Daniel asked about without letting it kill our creativity? How do we keep the soul of the idea while fixing the math of the idea?
You use it for the how, not the what. Use the AI to stress test the feasibility and the mechanics. If the AI says your margins are impossible, you don't necessarily scrap the idea. You find a new way to manufacture. You use the AI to brainstorm alternative supply chains or different business models, like a subscription instead of a one-time purchase. The human's job is to provide the why and the vision. The AI's job is to provide the physics and the friction. It's a partnership. The human brings the spark. The AI brings the fire extinguisher to make sure the spark doesn't burn the house down.
I'm thinking about the triage aspect specifically. Let's say I'm Daniel, and I have 10 different ideas for AI automation tools. In the old days, like 2 years ago, I'd have to pick one based on a gut feeling and hope for the best. Now, I can put all 10 through a capital efficiency and time to market filter. I can literally see which idea survives the most simulated deaths.
And that is where the real power is. You can run a portfolio of ideas through a tool like Big Ideas DB and ask it to rank them based on current tailwinds. Which of these ideas has the least competition in the next 12 months? Which one can be built with a team of 3 people using existing open source frameworks? It turns the startup lottery into a series of calculated bets. You're not just throwing darts, you're looking at the board through infrared goggles. Imagine a founder who thinks they want to do a B2C fashion app, but the AI triage shows that the B2B logistics backbone for that app is actually a 10x larger opportunity with 90% less competition. That pivot alone is worth millions.
Infrared goggles for your brain. I like that. It's like being able to see the wind before you set sail. But let's get practical. If someone's listening to this and they've got a side project or a startup idea, what's the Monday morning workflow? Do they just go to ChatGPT and ask, "Is my idea good?"
No, please don't do that. That is like asking a golden retriever for investment advice. It will be very enthusiastic and completely useless. It will just wag its tail and say, yes, more treats please. You need to be systematic. Step 1, use a validation tool like IdeaProof or Validator AI to get that initial physics check. Look at the specific reasons it gives for failure. Is it regulatory, technical, market size? Step 2, use a tool like V7 Go to ingest your own documents and see what a VC's AI will see. Look for those legal and financial red flags. Step 3, run a synthetic user simulation. Define your skeptical personas. The person who hates technology, the person who is obsessed with privacy, the person who is broke, and see where they push back.
And step 4, call your brother and make him tell you why you're wrong for free. Because no matter how good the AI is, A brotherly, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, still hits different.
Well, no, I'm not allowed to say that word, but you are correct. The human element is the final filter. But you want to come to that conversation with data. You want to be able to say, I know the customer acquisition cost is high, but the lifetime value is projected to be 3 times higher because of this specific retention mechanism I've designed. You aren't arguing from a place of ego, you're arguing from a place of evidence.
It makes the conversation so much more interesting. Instead of, I think people will like this, it's, the data suggests a 20% friction rate in the onboarding process, and here's how I'm solving it. That is a much more confident place to be. It's moving from, I hope, to, I know. It changes you from a founder into a builder.
And that is the 10-day to 10-minute shift we are seeing. What used to take a team of analysts weeks of research can now be done by a single founder on a Sunday afternoon. It levels the playing field. You don't need a Harvard MBA to do institutional grade due diligence anymore. You just need the right prompts and the willingness to hear bad news. That's the real barrier to entry now, not capital, but the emotional maturity to accept that your first draft might be garbage.
That's the hard part, isn't it? The willingness to hear bad news. We all love our ideas like they're our children. It's hard to listen to an AI tell you your baby is ugly and has no market potential. It's easy to ignore a robot.
But wouldn't you rather hear it from a silent AI in your living room than from a partner at Sequoia after you've spent 6 months of your life and $50,000 of your savings on it? The AI is the ultimate kindness because it is brutally honest before the stakes are high. It lets you fail fast, fail cheap, and fail in private.
Brutal kindness. I think that's going to be the title of my autobiography. Or maybe, The Sloth Who Knew Too Much. Speaking of knowing things, I'm curious about the blind spot, detection specifically. Daniel mentioned finding things before a VC does. Is there something AI can see in the H global market that a single VC firm might miss? Like, can it see patterns across languages or borders?
Oh, absolutely. VCs have their own biases. They tend to follow the current thing. If everyone is investing in generative video, they all go there. It's a herd mentality. AI can look at the white space, the areas where there is high consumer demand, but almost zero patent filings or startup activity. It can see the silent trends. For example, maybe there's a massive spike in search traffic for a very specific type of sustainable building material in Eastern Europe, but no one in Silicon Valley is talking about it yet because they're all obsessed with the latest LLM. AI can flag that as an opportunity that hasn't been hyped yet. It can also analyze the corpse of dead startups, looking at why 5 companies in the same space failed in 2022 and identifying if the technology has finally caught up to make that idea viable in 2026.
So it's not just a red team for your mistakes, it's a green team for hidden opportunities. It's like having a scout who's looking at the entire world simultaneously. It's the difference between scouting a single player and having the data on every player in every league.
That is the pattern detection advantage. Humans sample maybe 10% of a market if they're being really thorough. AI can analyze the entire landscape. It eliminates the sampling bias that leads to those blind spots. It's the difference between looking through a keyhole and looking at a satellite map. You see the traffic jams before you're in them.
I'm sold. I'm going to go run my DNA toothbrush through Idea Proof right now. But I'm worried it's going to tell me that my target market is just Korn and his one weird neighbor who likes gadgets.
Hey, if that neighbor is a billionaire and has a dental hygiene obsession, you might still have a business. But seriously, this is the most exciting time to be a founder. The tools are there to make us smarter, faster, and more resilient. We just have to be brave enough to use them. We have to stop treating AI as a toy and start treating it as a co-founder who is much better at math than we are.
Brave enough to be told we're wrong. That's the real founder market fit. Well, this has been a deep dive. I feel like my brain is at 100% capacity, which for a sloth is quite an achievement. I might need a nap after this, but a strategic nap.
You did great, Corn. I didn't even see you yawn once. Your engagement levels were at an all-time high.
I was holding it in for the listeners, Herman. It's called professionalism. Let's wrap this up. We've covered the physics of feasibility, the rise of synthetic users, the self-audit for due diligence, and why you should never ask a golden retriever for business advice. It's about using these tools to find the cracks in the foundation before you build the skyscraper.
A solid summary. I think Daniel has enough here to triage his next 10 ideas and find the one that's actually going to stick. Just remember, use the AI to break your plan so you can build a better one. Don't be afraid of the red text. The red text is where the profit is hidden.
And if you're listening and you've got a genius idea, maybe give it the AI stress test before you quit your day job, or at least before you buy the turtleneck. Those things are itchy anyway.
Great advice. This has been a blast. I am going back to my research papers now. There is a new study on AI-driven supply chain optimization in the semiconductor industry that is calling my name. It's a real page-turner.
Of course there is. I'll stay here and try to figure out how to pivot my toothbrush idea into a smart floss subscription. Thanks as always to our producer, Hilbert Flemingtop, for keeping the wheels on this bus and making sure we don't go off on too many tangents. And a big thanks to Modolf for providing the GPU credits that power this show. We literally couldn't do the weird stuff without them.
This has been My Weird Prompts.
If you're enjoying the show, a quick review on your podcast app helps us reach more people who want to hear two brothers talk about AI and toothbrushes. Find us at myweirdprompts.com for the RSS feed and more.
Goodbye, everyone.
See ya. This episode was produced using Google Gemini 3 Flash, text-to-speech by Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our show, My Weird Prompts, where our thoughts go from slow